And we'll go ahead and get started. I'll take a quick roll. Lyda Scoggin.
I'm here.
You're here. All right. Gotcha. Greg Walsh.
I'm here.
Marcia Roby is coming back. We'll come back to you, Marcia. Yeah. Danny Steyer.
Present. Oh, accounted for, maybe?
Yeah. Matt Fogarty.
Yep.
Shelby Lamb.
Here.
Great. And Marcia Roby.
Here with my tea.
All right. Great. And also joining us, we have Tyler Pugh, Ben Hoffman, and with me in the office, I'm going to unblur this. I've got Clint Cobley and Roger Diefendorf as well. So when we get to that next agenda item, they'll be kind of briefing their pieces, but good to have them here for this first part anyway. All right, so I've got 3:04 at this point. Okay. Give me one moment, please. Great. All right. So with that, may I please have an approval for today's agenda?
A motion to approve?
I'll
Thank you, Danny.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Lyda. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. And then may I please have an approval for the a motion for the approval of the November 18th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Marcia, I so move.
Thank you, Marcia.
I'll second. Lyda.
Thank you, Lyda. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, and then our last meeting, we got started and we were having a conversation, and then it took us a little while to get a quorum. We went from the discussion with Kelly Konzelman and the rest of the team from the Almanor Housing Council. And we did not get our November 4th, 2024 meeting minutes approved. I went back to look at the transcript and the audio, and we skipped over that part. So I would like to get a motion to approve our November 4th meeting minutes.
Marcia approves it.
Okay. They were included in your last agenda and invite. Thank you, Marcia.
Shelby will second.
Shelby, I got you first. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none. Okay. All right. Any public input at this point? I have something I'd like to share from the Indian Valley Food Pantry. I received this today. So as you recall, we approved $2,500 to go to the Indian Valley Food Pantry to support their purchase of turkeys for Thanksgiving dinner. So this is a letter that I received today, and I'll share this with North Valley Community Foundation as well. December 2nd, 2024. Dear North Valley Community Foundation and Dixie Fire Collaborative, the Indian Valley Food Pantry would like to thank you for your generous donation of $2,500. With that money, we were able to purchase 120 turkeys for Thanksgiving dinner giveaway. We were able to serve 113 families in our community. Thank you for being part of our mission of serving and feeding our community that is in love with food. Sincerely, Indian Valley Food Pantry, Debbie Castle, Director. So I'll make sure that that gets uploaded and sent over to North Valley Community Foundation. Oh, yeah. Is there anybody else that has anything? All right, Clint Cobley has something he'd like to share.
Good afternoon, everybody. I falsely assumed that I see all your smiling faces here today at Patrick's office, but I see you on Zoom, so that's wonderful. Hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving. I just want to give a big shout out to a big Christmas event and a grand opening on this coming Friday, December 6th. The Quincy Chamber of Commerce and the Indian Valley Innovation Hub have signed an MOU, and we've leased a space at the Brad Cook Law Building, the former drugstore in Quincy at 493 Main Street. And in addition to the big Sparkle event, which brings in 1,500 people a night, we're going to have a big grand opening for our location, which we call the Quincy Hub. It's going to contain the storefront for the Quincy Chamber, storefront for the Innovation Hub. Is also going to have a new Plumas County Visitor Center, and very happy to announce our Made in Plumas County store, a brick and mortar store. So we're really excited about that. We've got a lot of different things to talk about. I won't give you all the details now, but you're welcome to attend this Friday night from 5 until 8 in Quincy and see our new dig. So want to welcome you if you can make it, and thank you.
Great. Thanks for that, Clint.
Awesome.
All right. Well, so that's this Friday in conjunction with Sparkle.
Yes.
Down in Quincy. Okay, December 6th. Okay, great. So what I want to turn to now is next item on the agenda, Almanor Foundation and et al. And the Housing Committee. And really just a continuation of the last several meetings that we've had really over the last 6 weeks or so with regard to the overall funding request that the Almanor Foundation is making on behalf of its Housing Committee. If you recall, it's kind of broken up into 3 different tiers. One is with regard to investment in the RRA builders rental property concept. The second one is with regard to the Cheerio program with the Plumas County Community Development Commission. And again, we happen to have Roger sitting right here. And that is with regard to the Cheerio program, enhancing the marketing and rollout of that particular program. Again, the concept there is rental opportunities for younger families. Potentially. And then, of course, the third aspect of this was Placemate, which was the vacation rental concept of being able to lease or rent vacation rentals to long-term local renters, as opposed to it being a second home or an Airbnb VRBO. So it's those 3 different components. At this point, again, a lot of discussion has been had around these 3 different concepts and what the Plumas County Housing Council has been working on underneath the Almanor Foundation. And now they are working on a grant submittal to North Valley Community Foundation underneath the large grant proposal opportunity. There'll be the official grant will be going in. It's either going in right now as we speak with Susan Briner and the Almanor Foundation, or at the latest this week. It'll be in there so that Kim Dufour, our point of contact at North Valley Community Foundation, would give us a heads up of the actual grant in writing. But at this point, are there any lingering questions? I know that Matt and Greg had a secondary meeting with Kelly and had more emphasis on the investment calculator. I'm sorry, the calculator overall. Are there any additional questions? Did we lose somebody? No, okay. Okay, There's Shelby. And at our last meeting, we at least had verbal an affirmation of supporting the concepts overall. But now I think we're moving into the phase where we would want to actually have an official motion to commit funds overall to the concept. So at this point, could I have a motion? A motion put forward to fund the Almanor Foundation / the Plumas County Housing Council's grant application.
I so move, Marcia.
All right.
Fund that.
Wait, is this for 300 grand or 600 grand? Like, what's the
600.
600
So the total would be the 600.
from DFC?
Mhm.
Okay, got it. I'll second that.
So if let's see, just to make sure that there's no ambiguity, right? So this would be a motion for $600,000 from the DFC to support the Almanor Foundation's / Plumas Housing Council's grant request.
Yeah, so there's just a detail on that is that if it doesn't go through with Kelly's team, does the Almanor Foundation get to redirect those funds to some other project over, or does it come back to DFC? I think I propose that we put in there that this is like a one-way thing, that we're giving this 600 grand to Almanor Foundation with the expectation that they're going to do the Kelly project, and but if they don't, then it's not going to come back to us. Do you guys agree, or do you think it should come back to us? Because there's still some risk about, I mean, Kelly's got to get some banks to agree that the appraisal is going to come in right, and going to get quotes from builders and stuff like that. So there's still quite a lot of work on his side. Do you guys think that if it doesn't go through with Kelly for one reason or another, that it should stay with Almanor Foundation, or should it come back to DFC?
I think it should stay with the Almanor Foundation as long as it's designated for housing projects.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's currently structured right now, is it stays in a housing fund. Whether that goes to the RA development or placement program or TRIO, it would go to the highest need. If there's any changes, there would be communication between the Almanor Foundation to the North Valley Community Foundation and thus the Dixie Fire Collaborative as well. It wouldn't be made unilaterally.
Is there anything that we can put in there that the housing has to benefit the DFC's kind of target, Warner Valley, Greenville, Indian Falls?
Yeah, that's been a hard one I understand that completely. I think it's been hard because those funds go into an investment fund. What we could say or ask is that the first housing gets developed on a fire affected lot kind of thing. As I don't know how to actually write that into a contract, but it's a priority and a focus is basically it.
But we're not guaranteeing that those houses would get built in Greenville. So say they've got plans to build like whatever, 15 houses, 45 things. I mean, some of it could get built in Quincy. It might mean it's closer for these, like if the employers are going to be a big part of that deal, and they may prefer to have them next to their hospital in Quincy or close to their mill in Chester or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a
So
good.
that
And some of the grant the grant language specifically asks for a Dixie Fire connection. And so in there, it describes the impact of Greenville specifically providing the affordable housing stock up to that point. So I think anchoring around that, and that this project is focused on the Greenville area as it stands right now. But it's a good point, Matt. Tyler, cut you off. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to put that kind of into writing in a way, because if we look at this as like these initial funds represent 10% of the total 5 million raise. So it's not the overall weight of it, but it should be the focus and intention. And so to be honest, there's not that many continuous lots that would be smart development at a lower cost other than Greenville. So there's a lot of market demands towards it. The focus of the grant is towards Greenville. I don't know how you separate that from overall housing stock. So I think, Matt, you bring up a good point. I think we would need to talk through with Bill Hubbard when we write the actual, like the grant agreement gets executed, that's the priority.
Okay,
so-
so can we say in this proposal that we're approving 600K to the Almanor Foundation with the agreement that this money is going to be used for Greenville housing? I mean, the total fund, the target fund's like 5 million or something,
Yeah.
and the DFC's first money in this deal, so we should have some ability, and it would be a shame if it didn't get built in Greenville.
Yeah, I think there's everything is pointing towards Greenville is basically it.
Okay, so Marsha, can you edit it to make it conditional on Greenville?
Just, and real quick, Danny Steyer just has his hand up.
Yeah, I think this isn't a request, it's a requirement. We're required to have this within the Dixie fire burn scar, and we are representing it and we're looking at it. To me, it's a requirement. It's not as, oh, let's try to have, say, it's kind of understanding. It should be a requirement. And do we have a copy of that grant as it's being submitted to the North Valley Community Foundation? Do we have a current copy of that one that's being approved, Patrick?
Yeah, so I got a draft from both Tyler and Ben today that I forwarded on to Kim and Bill to review. And it's definitely a draft. But in it, it does describe the dollar amounts that it's requesting from both the DFC and the North Valley Community Foundation. So it's the total of $600,000 from the DFC, and then an additional $240K from North Valley Community Foundation.
I can sort of support an intent, but we can't necessarily approve unless we see the grant application.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see the grant. Also, I have some, like, I was supportive of the proposals for the building of the units. I have some questions that I'd like to see more about the housing in place, or the $100,000 to help renters. So I'd like to see more about that as well. I don't know about that. And I think I'd like it to come back. If the project doesn't go, I'd like it to come back to the DFC.
Hey, Greg, just to clarify, the 100,000, are you talking about the TRIO program?
Yeah, the TRIO program, yes.
That part of the rental program?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess, Greg, I'm kind of confused. You bring up that 100. So how is that 100,000 related to the 600,000? Because the 600,000 is a blanket to do with that, or are we parsing it up between all three? I think we're just going to the initial investment.
So it's a division across the board for the three different programs, Danny. So all in, it's $600,000. The rough estimate for the TRIO program, the marketing component was I think it was $110,000.
Yeah, but I've also pulled out those because North Valley Community Foundation is more interested in supporting the TRIO program. So that weighted funds would go towards there. The DFC's funds would go towards the RRA development model, and would be then added upon between the Almanor Foundation's funds that would then support the PlaceMate program.
So
sorry.
So in the grant, so in the grant request, having just the broken down budget of each dollar amount would be very helpful.
Yes,
Okay.
usually expect that. And so I'm still not clear. I didn't get an answer. It sounds like it was going all to the 600,000 to the RA, the initial dump, but then it sounded like maybe some of it might go somewhere else, or is it all to your first?
It's always been split in the memos that were sent, the two memos that were sent. There was always a matrix that was offered that has the North Valley Community Foundation, the Almanor Foundation, and the Dixie Fire Collaborative. it had each of the entities and
Right.
it had each of the funds. And it had a suggested amount for each one of those funds based on what the interest of the organization is
Okay.
under overall umbrella for housing.
Yeah, it's just that initial one, I didn't see it added up to 600,000, but I'll go back and look at it since you don't have
The
that.
first
one
one
here
was-
handy.
The first one was 500,000. And then it went up to 600,000 because of the cost of the placemate program as we're getting into it.
Okay.
600
Right.
is ask for the DFC.
Greg, you have your hand up? You're muted, Greg.
There you are.
I saw that Clint's there and Roger's there. I'd like to know what they're here to talk about too before we vote on this. If because I think that they're working on like down payment assistance programs, and so I'd like to hear what they're doing before we commit funds to something else.
Okay, that is next on the agenda.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hear about that here.
So I don't want to vote on this before I hear about that.
Okay. Okay, so what we'll do is we're gonna table this for right now. For Tyler and Ben, I'll just be looking for the grant proposal in the portal from the Amador Foundation / Plumas County Housing Council, and then we'll just go from there.
Can I have a follow-up question? Because it seemed like there was a lot of pending questions. Greg, if you can send me a list of questions that you have for either Placemate or the TRIO program, I'd be happy to address those, record the video and send those out. Thank you. Danny, if you have specific questions around the grant application, we'll fill it out in the questions that are asked in the grant application and fill that out. But if there's additional ones that are not in the grant application, the large grant application on the North Valley Community Foundation, please send those over so I can address those questions.
Right. I'll look at the grant application as soon as I get it and I will forward questions.
Excellent. Thanks all.
Thanks, Tyler.
Okay, so the next item is we do have Clint Cobley and Roger Diefendorf with us to talk about specifically down payment assistance program. So I'll turn it over to you, John.
Hey, good afternoon, again, everybody. I'm basically here just to introduce Roger, since he's been involved in the housing business for decades, but I just wanted to mention a couple of things. One is, in the 3 years since the Dixie Fire, I've done a lot of research on, wildfire communities and their recoveries, and I've come up with, a number of programs that really seem to help communities rebuild. Whether it's a land bank, whether it's a USDA 502 loan program that doesn't require a down payment. If it's a TRIO program that is a lease to purchase program that helps young families get involved, or in particular, the down payment assistance program. And the down payment assistance program has worked very well in most of the communities, and particularly in Paradise. They had a $30,000 down payment assistance program pre-campfire, and after the campfire, they decided that they wanted to stack that, and they raised it up, and I think Kelly's probably told you, maybe up to like $100,000 or more. And so that provides a lot of incentive in today's high cost of construction and building and things like that, so. And like Tyler had said, basically, things are pointing towards Greenville. I've always looked at Greenville as kind of like a bedroom community in some ways for Chester and Quincy, because they really can't grow, but Greenville can. Greenville can grow back what it lost, and just, available lots here and things like that. So it's a great place, as you all know. And there's also a lot of anchor employers or anchor institutions in Plumas County that are really looking for housing. For example, the Plumas District Hospital is adding a nursing ward next year. By June, they hope to hire 30 nurses, and with their long-term care facility that they're building, they want to hire a total of 100 nurses by the end of next year. SBI usually has 50 to 60 employees. Plumas County has probably 75 or more. The Unified School District has a number. So does Feather River College and things like that. So we feel that if we work with some of those anchor institutions, and particularly in the relocation program that we have built, that we can encourage them to use the down payment assistance program as an additional hook to get employees to their doorstep to sign a contract and work for them, and then, of course, move to Plumas County. Moving to Plumas County does a lot of things besides just, people buying a house and things like that. Every school-age child brings in $10,500 from the state of California to the school district or the charter school. It brings in, property taxes to the revenue-starved Plumas County, and then, of course, people working have disposable income, and then, of course, they're going to spend that in their local community. So it's very, very, there's just so many benefits that come with in-migrating people to Plumas County. As you know, the long-term prognosis for Plumas County by 2060 is to lose about 30% of our population, or another almost 7,000. So by 2060, they say we'll be down to about 13,000 people, which means it could change the face of how we operate. It could change the environment for businesses. It could change the number of departments and programs and services that the county provides. It could change our quality of life. Well, we wanna change that, and when I look at Plumas County and I listen to the demographic research units and I ask them why they're so sure we're gonna lose people, they say that it's because of three things. It's low births, high deaths, and very little in-migration. So I feel that whether it's the Hub or Roger or Tyler or whoever, all of us, we've got to change the course of, our future. Otherwise, we'll be victims of our fate instead of being able to determine, our fate. So I'm really looking strongly at down payment assistance programs. I've known Roger now for a couple of years. I know that his organization has been in the housing business, is very familiar with state and federal regulations and things like that. So I think he has a lot to offer, and I'll quit here shortly so he can talk about that. But I think he's got some great promise for us, and I think he could do great for us. So I just want to mention that I've always talked about our target demographic, which is young families and young entrepreneurs. Hopefully put kids in schools, customers in our stores, kind of take down our aging demographic. Our median age is about 53 in Plumas County. We're well past the childbearing age. In Quincy, the median age is about 57 or 58. So we're aging out, and we need to import some younger people. So hopefully down payment assistance programs, relocation programs, and other incentives, and business development incentives, can maybe do the ticket. So that's what we've been promoting at the Hub for some time. And lastly, I'll just throw in that I think one of the perfect houses to build is a starter home. It's a little bit lesser expensive, maybe 1,000 or 1,200 square foot with an attached ADU. So you have a 2-bedroom home with an attached ADU, and if in years to come, career path is good for the couple that owns it, and the family gets bigger, they can stop the ADU and just convert it into a 3-bedroom house, to fit the needs of a larger family. So really looking at that. So anyway, so those are the things that, in a nutshell, that I've been talking about for quite some time, and I've bent Roger's ear for a long time. So I'm going to shut up right now. It's just good to see you all, and I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Thank you, Clint.
Go ahead, Roger. Get it a little closer there so they can see it.
And for the steering committee, Clint brought along a printout. I just scanned it and sent it, just emailed it to you. And that was actually a draft that Clint put together with information from me. So it's a draft. It's not totally completed, but so as executive director of the Housing Authority, I've been approached many times
about what can you do to help us with housing? And one of the problems with housing authorities is, in general, they don't build housing. But over a period now of 6 or 8 months, we've been talking about what the possibilities would be for our agency to assist with the rebuilding of Greenville. And we do have a nonprofit. It was created in 2021. The purpose of the nonprofit was twofold, really, to support some of our public housing properties, and also we're the community action agency for Lassen, Plumas, and Sierra counties, and that's community service block grant funding, which is never adequate for small rural counties. So the other leg of establishing the nonprofit was to help to support our community action activities. In any event, over the period of months, I've spent quite a bit of time looking to see what the possibilities are that we could do with respect to promoting the rebuilding of Greenville. I spent some time talking with the folks down in Paradise that run their down payment assistance program, and actually just recently spent some time talking with Kelly about his program as well. So we have a pretty decent proposal that we've started to put together here, where our nonprofit would be able to run a down payment assistance program. Several reasons why it should be the nonprofit and not our housing authority. The first being that as a nonprofit, then we're able to take donations that are tax exempt for folks or for other organizations that are looking to make donations. And then secondly, because the housing authority really isn't structured in itself to be running a down payment assistance program. So in talking with Clint and other people as to what it would cost to actually get the program up and running, we were looking at about $200,000 to start the program for 2 years in terms of putting the program together, and also $800,000 that we would turn into $50,000 down payment assistance for folks that were interested in building and needed some additional incentive to be able to get a house going and hopefully move into a property here in Plumas County and help support the economy. I've also had conversations with some other organizations. There's a potential for probably $2 million or more that could be put into grants in this program if we were able to get this program up and running. And then we would anticipate being able to bring in several more $1 million that would be available for down payment assistance in order to help the economy and help folks to begin to rebuild here and be successful in the job market. Besides the organizations that Clint mentioned, I know that Sierra Institute is going to need 22 new workers here next year for the cross-laminated timber project that they have going. So there's simply not enough houses for people that want to come and work in Plymouth County. Clint, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, it's just that, you know, you talk about Sierra Institute, and I just mentioned some of those anchor institutions that, you know, meet a lot. You know, if anything, if you wanted to go over some of your credentials and some of the things that you've done in housing before, just because it took me a while to find out about your organization, even though you've been here for a very long time. So if you want to go over a little bit of your background. A little bit.
Sure, the Housing Authority actually was created about 40 years ago.
Statute, wasn't it?
Well, it actually falls under the statutory authority by the state of California. Housing authorities and redevelopment agencies, although redevelopment agencies are pretty much phased out now, but and so our agency's been in the housing business for 40 some years. I've been executive director for 10 years. Other than that, I've been an attorney for 52 years now. I spent 20 some years as an administrative law judge, hearing high dollar audit appeals. I've been involved in real estate investment and also on the board of directors of a public stock company. So I've got quite a bit of background in terms of finances and business. And so it looks like the program that we're proposing would have a really good chance of success and a really good chance of helping to promote the rebuilding of Greenville and potentially other parts of Plymouth County. So I don't know if anyone has any questions at this point.
I just want to make a closing comment that, you know, I think it's good that, you know, there's housing options. It's, you know, when you look back, it's been over 3 years since the fire, and it seems like now we're getting down to a little bit more of a crunch time where we actually have got proposals that will really make things happen. You know, and I'm just really, really glad to see it, no matter whatever your decision is. I'm just really happy that we're at that point. And I really think 2025, and in particular 2026 will be good building years for Greenville. The California Fair Plan is going to start allowing insurance companies back in after January 1st to start writing policies. I don't see a big drop in the California Fair Plan in 2025, but I see a bigger drop in 2026. So I think, you know, we're going to get a handle on some of our insurance costs. So that'll make it probably a little bit more appealing for people to come to Plymouth County and make a living here. You know, unfortunately, one of the things that we fight here in Plymouth County is that our median income is only about $69,000 to $70,000 a year for an individual, whereas for the state of California, it's about 90,000. So our debt to income ratio is not the best here. By the time we pay all of our bills, there's not much left. But I think projects like that are going to diversify our income, anchor institutions hiring more staffing, insurance rates going down, and with programs like down payment assistance coming into play, I think 2025 and 2026 are going to be good years. I think everybody's heart should be warmed by the fact that the future looks good. Even we can leave all the national politics out of things, and I just think that it's going to be a good couple of years ahead of us.
All right, so it looks like we do have a couple questions. I've got Matt with his hand up, and then we'll go to Greg.
So what's the criteria for someone to get one of these down payment assistance?
Say that one more time. It was a little quiet.
What's the criteria for someone to get this assistance? Like who can get it? Is it
What would the
anyone,
criteria
or is
be for
it?
someone to be able to apply for a down payment assistance?
Well, they have to have enough income that in general they would, income or potential income. In other words, new hires into some of the local industries. And obviously, they need to be able to have enough potential credit score that they're capable of paying on a loan.
What's a good credit score for housing? I know for like a business loan right now, it's about 680. What's it for like housing?
Well, it's probably pretty close to
Pretty
that,
close,
and,
okay.
and for the TRIO program, it's actually a little bit lower than
Yes.
that.
For the TRIO program, the design of that is that it can be a fair credit score so that you can then.
You've got 3 years to
you
build
have
it
the
up.
opportunity
Yes,
to get to a good credit score.
yes, I was trying to promote the TRIO program as a construction loan program, and earlier this year, I was at a conference where one of the principals of the TRIO program was there, and I was really pushing for that to happen. Unfortunately, just last week, at the end of the week, he said, no, it doesn't look like we can do any construction loans, although he held out hope that down the road, there's a possibility, but at this point,
Sure.
it's basically a lease to own program.
Yeah.
And so there has to be an existing home that the person would be looking to buy and then get into the TRIO program. And so the whole idea of the TRIO program is that as long as you have a income, I think it's about $3,500 a month, an okay credit score, then you can get into an existing home, and it's a lease to own. So during that period of time you're leasing, you're also building up your
Credit. Yeah,
your credit.
you're demonstrating that you can make the payments.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
It's a really good.
And as a
program.
consequence, your credit score will rise so long as you're making the payment.
Right.
Okay, we'll go to Greg and then we'll go to Tyler. Or Matt, did that answer your question?
No. So I'm kind of confused. So this down payment assistance program is, so if someone wants to buy a house in Crescent Mills or Greenville or whatever, then they'd get a grant of like 50 grand. Is that right? And it's not repayable? Is that how it works? Or is TRIO something different, or
TRIO is something different. This would be it's the down payment assistance plan or program is a loan.
oh, it's a loan. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's another, okay. So it's like a second mortgage for this,
50,000 isn't a loan.
Is the 50,000 a grant?
Yeah,
Oh, so
yeah, the 50,000 is the grant.
okay, so the 50,000 is a grant. So imagine your target demographic. I want to move to Greenville, and the house is 250 grand. I get 50 grand for free, and then I've got to borrow or come up with the 200 grand. Is that right?
Yes. It's not free housing. It's assistance so that folks who have the potential to purchase a home can get into that home and get that going and hopefully accept employment in the county.
And you're saying that you want to target like younger families or families with kids or something like that. Are you legally allowed to do that? Kind of like if someone to put age limits on it, or marital relationships or kids, or are you legally allowed to discriminate on housing for that kind of stuff? Because I know
Well-
it's pretty regulated.
No, I don't think we're talking about discriminating against anybody. It's what we're
I mean,
saying.
if
is-
someone's too old, if a 6-year-old wanted to go on this program, is that cool?
A 60?
Yeah.
Of course, as long as they meet the criteria.
Matt, I just mentioned it as a target because of our population deficit and our aging population, that should be a target, but it's not gonna be a requirement. It's just that when we're out there looking for people in relocation, you know, just like in Paradise, they're the fastest growing town in California for 2 years, and they have many young families because of that because of that down payment assistance program, but they don't have it as a requirement. It's just that if you look at millennials and you look at younger people, they're the ones most challenged. And a down payment assistance program is likely to help them more than anyone else. That's all.
Matt, we'll come back to you. Greg, you have a question, and then I think Tyler also had his hand up. Greg, you're muted.
So, so is this like strictly for purchasing already built homes, or is this like you mentioned construction loan? I mean, could it be used either way, or is it, I mean, as a grant, you know, like, is it for construction or is it for purchasing an already built existing off the market stock home?
Well, when you're looking at down payment assistance, you're typically looking at an existing structure. So it's not specifically a construction loan.
Right.
Now, I think under the USDA 502 program, which we really haven't promoted very much in this county, and we should have, USDA 502 will cover construction as well.
But
If you recall, one of the things that when Kelly was briefing the efficacy of the plan in Paradise is that they buy everything from the homeowner, they buy the land, and then they bring in a modular home, and then they sell it back to the previous homeowner if that person's going to rebuild. And they can do that with a modular home and keep the price at a reasonable dollar amount. He did talk about the complexity of doing a stick-built home at the cost per square foot to go all in on that dollar amount because of just the expensive.
but this is particularly focused more on existing housing stock.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And you would, I mean, you want to attract young people, so how would you market it? Are you letting people, where are you advertising this, letting people know?
Well, Clint, you've done some research on the marketing.
Well, the program can be marketed to, like I said, our major employers, but I think you have some contractors that with a program like this are going to be more encouraged to build a home and put it for sale. It's just because they know that there's a program out there that can get people into those homes as soon as they're built.
Right.
Okay.
So
And
that's an incentive for spec
Developers.
homes.
And spec homes.
okay,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
yeah, last one was like, so basically, you guys are looking for $200,000 for a program and $800,000 for the seed money for the grants. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how many grants do you think you can get out of that again?
16.
We're looking at 16 to start. We believe that as soon as the program would be operative, that we probably could bring in at least another $2 million, which would then translate into probably 30 plus new homes.
Where would the additional $2 million come from?
I've been in conversations with a organization locally. I can't really
Yeah, fair enough. I
commit-
was just asking.
right commit to which organization it would be at this point.
If you took 16 grants of $50,000 and if those 16 families brought in, say, 20 school-aged children, 20 times 10,500, which you get from the state for every school-aged child, you know, really adds up.
It's important to note though, that money goes to the school.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's their block grant, you know,
Yeah.
having worked at a school for 8 years.
Yeah.
That's how you operate your school. It's not, I mean, it's not as if it's going to Plumas County. It's going to the district or the charter school,
Yeah.
whoever's operating.
That's what
Yeah.
maybe
I just want to
my
clarify because
point.
you're making it sound like that the county gets this money
No,
and that.
no.
No,
No,
I mean,
it goes to
it's
the
the
school.
operating cost.
The county will
yeah.
get the property tax.
Sure.
But the school district
100%.
gets 10,500 for every new school. I mean,
For
every new
any student
student
that's
from the
enrolled.
state
Yeah.
comes to the charter school or the unified school district. Yeah, so
It just-
take,
That goes
take
into
20
your operating
take-
cost. Though.
yeah.
It's not like it's like a boon like there.
yeah,
It's everything to keep the lights on and keep
Yeah.
teachers paid.
but just take 20 kids times 10,500, you can see the difference.
Let's see, Matt, we've got your hand up.
Yeah, so how does it cost $200,000 to give away 16 grants? Given that the criteria for these grants is really loose, that most people can apply. I mean, it sounds like if you've got a credit score over 680, you want to live here, you'll qualify. So how's it? And in addition, it's not like a loan where you got to chase them and there's maintenance, whatever. There's like things you have to do after this thing's done, right? Once the money's done, there's no follow up. So my question is, how come it costs $200,000 to give away 16 grants, given the simplicity of the grant structure that you're proposing?
That's because you have to have an administrative structure in order to do this, unfortunately. What I can tell you is that in Paradise, they have actually 3 people running their housing program down there. One is a person with real estate investment background, and the other is one that is specifically with real estate background. So it's not like you can administer the program for free, because as a housing authority, HUD and USDA, neither one ever pay us 100% of our costs. So the only way that this could be taken on is through the nonprofit. But with the nonprofit, then you have the ability to bring in donations. And of course, as you know, that then becomes a tax write-off for the folks that donate.
Is Plumas County, as a county, able to contribute to that fund?
To which fund?
To your foundation?
Oh, no.
No. So with their PG&E settlement, like, would they be able to take $1 million and give it to you to support this?
Well, I suppose they could. Plymouth County is pretty well strapped as it is, so that there's,
But given that, like,
theoretically.
as it's described here, that it's specifically to support housing post Dixie Fire, and
right,
they have disaster, they have money from PG&E that they've been orbiting around for these many months. You know, is there the potential to ask for it that it's
There's
contributed to the
certainly-
to
there's
the Plymouth
certainly-
Community Development Corporation
right,
as a contribution towards this?
right. There's certainly the potential to ask for that,
Okay.
yes.
I was just curious.
And Matt, the 200,000 was for 2 years.
All right, Tyler, you have your hand up, and then we'll come back to Matt.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I want to start by, like, obviously my perspective is a little bit biased because we have a fund request in with the DFC. But what I would say is the thing that I keep coming back to is you can't boil the ocean, meaning if we try to do everything all at once, we're not going to go anywhere. And what I've found is, and I deeply appreciate the down payment assistance programs. They are effective. They're very costly in their kind of process, and they take a lot of systems and structure, marketing programs to get up and running. And so it was something I investigated quite in depth when we were looking at different opportunities. What I found is critically, we need to come back to building housing stock, number one, focus on that. That's where the focus on the developer and focusing on developing the housing stock was the critical kind of path issue. For me, and in talking with Roger, it was looking at Trio, a kind of lighter lift opportunity that can get first-time buyers into the position of buying that's already with a structure and kind of set up. What I would really encourage is we look at the buyer's assistance program as a year 3 or year 4 kind of endeavor, and we try to march towards that. The reason being is that program typically is done with federal and state subsidies as their program, and that typically looks at below 80% AMI, which makes it oftentimes so that even with the subsidy, the people don't qualify for the loans because they're below 80% area median income. Those programs have started shifting and moving up to 120% AMI, which is making it more kind of opening up, and then the larger, and they're increasing the amount of the first time buyers assistance program. So it is a good program. What I found is, like, if we're gonna try to move very tactically forward, the Trio program with Roger seemed like a really good fit, a lower cost kind of lift and higher yield. And then developing housing and starting to gain momentum of the housing construction actually happening is really critical. So that's just after 2 years, 2.5 years of trying to find an option forward that is very tactical. That's kind of what my recommendation would be. I'm happy to fill in questions, things like that. There's a depth of knowledge here, and Roger has it immensely of the complexity of housing and how to actually move forward. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lyda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, my question is that it sounds like this is primarily aimed at existing housing. And as I'm understanding it, there isn't any. So where's the housing stock that is going to be available for people to buy using this assistance?
Well, part of that promotes the building of spec homes as long as developers and contractors see the way to sell the structures that they build. Unfortunately, none of this goes directly to the construction cost. If I'm looking to buy a lot in Greenville and put a house on it. Now, on the other hand, the USDA 502 program will fund that. And so, yes, it somewhat appears like it's putting the cart before the horse, but this has turned out to be a very successful program in Paradise. As I say, I spent time in Paradise last, 6 months ago now, looking at their program. And as Clint pointed out, Paradise is now the fastest growing community in the state. So they have done something right. The one thing that they have done, though, is they've increased the amount of the down payment assistance because they've been able to stack grants upon grants and increase the amount. And so that's a significant feature with what they've been doing. They're now doing the down payment assistance of over $100,000.
Yeah, and they are indeed, it is either at or above $100,000. And I think the tricky thing, these are good programs, and the tricky thing here is to build a new house. We were just talking about 1,000 square foot home at $400 a square foot, which is kind of roughly the going rate. That's a $400,000 home. So being able to provide 50,000 as a grant, now we're dropping it down to $350,000. That's still like, that's a chunk to get a mortgage and pay on. So again, I'm just saying that's a healthy dollar amount still for.
Right, in the ideal world, we would be able to stack grants one on top of the other
Yeah.
and actually get to $100,000 down payment assistance, which would be
Yeah.
significant. And when you talk to Kelly, that's one of the things that he talks about with the Paradise program, that when they started off at down payment assistance below 100,000, he doesn't feel it was as effective as it is now.
Check. Yeah, exactly. Matt, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so could we use this, so say it's 100 grand down payment assistance, you can get a tiny home, like a piece of land in Greenville, you can get a piece of land for like 30 grand. Maybe you get a tiny home for like 70,000, some utilities for another 30. Is that a kind of project that we would support? Because that's, I mean, then it starts getting real. I mean, if someone can get their own house and only be out of pocket like 50 grand, I mean, it's going to get really, really appealing, especially for younger people or people who don't need, a lot of people don't need 1,500 square feet. You know, it's just like too much. People can live in smaller places. Is that something that we would promote? Because then it could really be significant. You know, if you got 50 grand or 500 grand total price, it's not that significant, but 50 grand or 100 grand, now you're talking to kind of needle moving stuff. And with tiny homes, with also, there's a whole set of people in California who own tiny homes, but don't have a place to park it. They're looking for some ideal place to live in their little tiny home that they've bought, but they don't have a place because a lot of places don't allow it. So is that, if we said yes, we could get a lot of people, young people, whatever you want, living here. But there's a kind of snobbery also about people living in small homes. Maybe it's poor people, maybe we don't like poor people, that kind of thing going on as well. So is this something that we could use for tiny homes?
I would certainly support that being used for tiny homes, absolutely. The whole idea is to try to get as many people as possible housed, mainly in Greenville, but also in Plymouth County. And so, yes, I don't see any reason that we couldn't do that. And I would definitely support that.
Okay, so I think some additional information that might help the team is, a deeper dive in the data and the case studies in Paradise to see how this program is working there and where the comparison is and potentially where the contrasts are, just given that it's a different environment and different condition. And then also the sustainability of the program. So after the $200,000 for admin, and the 16 grants divided by $800,000 for 50,000 apiece, what happens next?
Oh, I would see this program growing and flourishing. The Paradise program has been running now for 3 years, I believe, possibly longer. And it's been very successful. They continue to run these programs, and I would see this as the beginning to establish the program in order to move it forward. I don't see this as being a program that would be a 2-year program and then it closes down.
Sure, yeah.
I would see this being a program that we would be able to grow and continue to bring in more funding and promote more growth in Plumas County, but specifically in Greenville as well.
That's good. I've got Danny, Matt, and then Laura. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, I think I've heard quite a bit about this, and it seems, I would like to see a grant application come in on this and encourage further development of this to see, what it actually becomes. So I don't think we have enough yet to say, yes, we're supporting it, just as I'm not, the intent that with the Almanor Foundation, the type of, we haven't seen that grant yet. But I'd say where the point here is we would like to encourage this grant request. So I've heard enough. So it says, hey, yeah, develop it. Let's see it develop. Oh, more housing. What we can do. Let's do it.
We'll certainly follow up on that.
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm supportive of kind of bottoms up housing, giving money to people to build their own houses. I think that's great. My concern is that $200,000 seems like a lot of money to write 16 checks. Do we have staff? I mean, how much work is there to do this? I just don't see it. $200,000 is so much money to do this, seeing as we're not expecting repayment, and there's not much criteria for doing it. Will fund like anyone with any house. As long as they've got the rest of this, the payment stack going on. Like, it seems really expensive. So are there people within Almanor Foundation, like the housing thing that we're going to be doing, or DFC Patrick, in terms of time? I mean, it's 16 checks. I really don't see it as being like, what's complicated in this thing? Like, what's complicated about writing 16
But
checks?
this would be done by the workforce of the Plumas County Community Development Commission.
Well, it would actually be done by the nonprofit.
I'm sorry, the nonprofit.
Right, because
The Plumas Community Development Corporation?
Yes.
Okay.
yes, because we would have to hire staff to do that.
Okay.
Potentially one full-time person and one part-time person. And it's a 2-year program. So
I mean, so many people.
and in addition, as I said, I would see this program growing over that 2-year period. So potentially we're not looking at 16 checks. We're looking at.
So Matt, it's noted again that you're interested in the $200,000, and that would be included in their budget for when they write the grant and they put the grant application, they'll provide a budget of what that $200,000 is going to, with regard to, it sounded like what Roger just indicated, one full-time member and one part-time member. But they can, iron that out a little bit more clearly with regard to what their staffing needs will be. Laura, you had your hand up, and then we'll go to Greg.
Oh, yeah. So like Matt's saying, reducing administration costs and providing direct support is what a lot of people have been asking for. I saw a lot of that at the Rebuilding Greenville Resource Center and the Dixie Fire Resource Center. There were hundreds of people that were coming in, and if they didn't qualify for disaster case management, so what funding was coming in to support them. So having listened to this for 4 years now, and seeing so many great programs come about that have a lot to offer, there's still people out there that want to see more direct support. And that's what I like about this request, is that it's a way to provide direct support and to show that the people leading the disaster recovery are listening, and they're trying to give them that direct support.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Greg, you have your hand up.
Yeah, in terms of the budgeting for the 2 years, is that paying for a grant writer because you talked about getting more money coming in. So, I mean, are you having someone who's writing grants for this?
Well, our agency has someone writing grants. We also have the services of a grant writer that is writing grants for the nonprofit for our community action agency. So part of what we would be looking at with the initial administrative costs is doing what we need to do in order to develop this into a bigger program, a bigger and sustainable program.
Okay. All right, so I think next steps are for the Plymouth Community Development Corporation to fill out a grant request.
All right.
And I'll talk to you, Roger, about how that works.
Yes.
And then I think some of the additional data from just where the program is now, Paradise would just help illuminate the rest of the team.
Okay.
And one more thing, I'd really like to see it teased out how it could be used, like for Matt's idea of tiny homes. He's been trying to promote this for a really long time. And if it could work for tiny homes, I'd really like to see how that would actually be accomplished in what you're giving us next, that it could really be used for tiny homes.
Okay, we'll certainly look at that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Roger.
You're welcome.
You're muted.
Thank you.
Greg,
All right,
she's the dog.
so moving on to the next agenda item is the Master Infrastructure Utilities Plan. I sent that out last week. It was really just for your general awareness, so that everybody had that. Marcia, I know that you commented. And that's, again, a planning document. Opportunities for implementation are out there, but will be forthcoming. I know the CSD is interested in potentially taking a couple of those ideas and running with them. One of the big ones was the fire suppression separation between the potable and non-potable water system here in Greenville, and being able to separate that out. And after action from the fire was that we had one solitary system, and that that system lost pressure even before the fire came into Greenville. And so if there's opportunities to separate that and draw from different water sources to make that happen. So that's but one example of something that's included in there, in addition to some of the other sources for electricity, and then energy overall. So please review that. In that way you have it for your own general awareness and knowledge. All right. The community supper again is coming up. I've got I'll be working with Casey Holland from PG&E. She's our community resource representative from PG&E. She has offered to sponsor the purchase of the hams that we'll be providing that evening. So that's one thing kind of off our plate with regard to at least getting. And then I'll start working on how the food prep for that will go. Just real quick, Marcia, I know that you said you were going to be available that evening, and that's Monday, December 16th, to help. Was anybody else going to be able to help or contribute to that effort? Greg, Matt, Shelby?
I'm doing the toys.
Okay, so you're on that, and I know, did Destiny get in contact with you, Greg?
Yeah, we've been in contact.
Okay, good. Matt, how about you? Are you going to be in town?
Maybe, yeah, probably. Yeah, put me
Okay.
down for probably.
Is there, would you like to volunteer for something? Right now, we need potatoes. Scalloped potatoes was a menu item that we had decided upon. Salad or rolls. Is there any of those items?
Big tub of ice cream.
Ice cream? Okay, ice cream it is. Shelby, are you going to be available?
I'm gonna be out of town, unfortunately.
Okay, no problem. All right. Danny, are you gonna be in town or are you gonna be?
I'm out, but kind of tentative. It kind of question kind of jumps to another question I have is about our meeting for December.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the 21st then, or
Well, we can talk about that right now. If we just can we bump it to a week to the right? That would actually put it on the 23rd, I believe. Monday, the 23rd.
well, I got community meeting. I mean,
The community meeting's on the Saturday, the 21st.
right. That's what I'm saying. That's still
Okay,
there.
I was talking about steering committee meeting. I thought that's what you meant. Because so so the community supper goes at 4:30 to 6:30 on Monday, the 16th. So
Correct.
it's going to be problematic to conduct this meeting simultaneously with food preparation and getting those things done and the setup over there. So open to recommendations on how we can still conduct business. Either I think if we do it, we can do it next week. We can do our next steering committee meeting a week from today on the 9th. So we have 2 meetings in December and try to keep some of these topics moving forward. The other option would be to do it on Monday, the 23rd, which is of course just before
No.
Christmas Eve. So I don't know if
Ninth, I like the 9th.
You like the 9th, Marcia?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sometimes become problematic if folks have travel plans to go visit family or friends over the holidays. So something to consider.
Right, right. And I think I like that. That was kind of the direct question. Well, indirect question I was asking was saying that are we still planning to have the one on the 21st or the DFC community meeting on the 21st?
I was still planning on it just because we did the last community meeting went so late in October 26th. And so the third Saturday of December is the 21st, just to kind of keep with that rhythm. I'm impartial. I could go either way. So let's just talk about before we go to the community meeting. Let me back up. So community supper. Marcia, what are the items that you wanted to bring for that?
2 pies and a thing of scalloped potatoes.
Okay, thank you. Great. Matt's bringing ice cream. Greg's on toys. All right. And then I've got hams. And I will also make scalloped potatoes as well. And then I'll get some rolls and salad. Okay, great. All right. Now, community meeting, it is scheduled for the 21st. I'm still soliciting for topics to be covered at that meeting. Any thoughts around that?
I would hope that by then we would have recommendations or approval, non-approval of a couple of the grants that are coming in as we're been talking over the last couple of meetings. I think we should have.
I'd agree. I'd agree.
And have if those are being presented as being funded, the people who are receiving that funding should be able to come give a brief description of what we're funding to the people in attendance. That would be my hope.
Yeah, we just got to get there, Danny.
Well, I'm just saying you asked for things, so that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be able to report on that. It's just, yeah. So that's a given. Yep. If we do have a large funding request like that, that's something that I'll definitely report. And then it'd be great if the action team around that is able to kind of talk about how that's going to be used. Okay. Well, just please brainstorm a little bit more on that. I've got some ideas of things that I can share, but I'll plan on that date. All right. Now, as opposed to an alternate date or moving on, an alternate date for the next steering committee meeting, December 9th, that's a week from today. Does that work for everybody so we can move some of this stuff along?
Is it for the folks that are here? Danny, yes? Lyda, yes?
Yeah, I have a conflict. Um,
Okay,
I can probably be there like from 3 to 4.
okay. We'll try to keep that, we'll keep all business up front to accommodate your schedule, Lyda. Thank you for doing that. Greg, are you able to,
I'm not sure. I'm trying to stay flexible because I have to go down and get those toys, and I'm working around someone else's schedule who's doing a bunch of stuff. So I don't have a firm date when I can do that yet. So, you know, if I'm not down there, then yes. You know, if I'm not in Chico, yes.
okay. Marcia, would
Yeah.
next week work for you?
It works for me.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, that's fine. This is the 9th, right?
Yeah, a week from today. Yep.
That's
Okay. Shelby, are you able to, does that work for your schedule?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. And I'm gonna reach out specifically to Dax and Trina as well, because some way, shape, or form, we do need to move forward on a couple things. I know that there's new information here with regard to what the Plymouth Community Development Corporation, but I'm not trying to dismiss that information. But I'm gonna meet with Roger to talk to him about how that grant application can go. We'll have a grant application from the Almanor Foundation, and I think actually we're gonna have an application from the Dawn Institute. I got an email saying that they were gonna just go to the grant portal and apply for some of the work that they're doing in Indian Falls, which is good. So there could be definitely 2, maybe 3 grant requests coming our way soon. So yes, Tyler.
So I just want to confirm, so we were working on the grant application for the Almanor Foundation, which is a large amount. What we really need is any questions that are pending around any of the 3 programs, including the RRA development model, the PlaceMate program, and the TRIO program. Any pending questions that are on there, if you can send those in the next day or 2, that would be great. With moving the DFC steering committee to Monday the 9th, that basically we're on a sprint schedule and to get you everything you have and need so that we could get a vote for the 21st, a motion and a vote by the steering committee so that potentially it could be funded before the December meeting. So just know we're scrambling now. And we're willing to do that, but we need your help.
Right. I
Okay.
kind of like to see how folding in some of the TRIO information I'm hearing from this alternate organization, how that could be helped to be folded in and maybe reduce some of the costs.
So I just want to be clear, the TRIO program is included in the Almanor Foundation's funding request.
Correct.
What we just heard from and it's ironically, it's the same organization that administers it, is the Plymouth County Community Development Commission. Roger, who's just sitting here. So his entity, which is also known as the Housing Authority, they would run that, right? In addition to what they just discussed around the the down payment assistance program.
Right.
Important to note that in 2019, Roger had identified a program like this in the 2019 housing element, and it just never got off the ground. I am curious about the additional $2 million that he thinks he can get and where that's coming from. He was a little, he didn't want to, he said he couldn't divulge where that's coming from. But I think that's interesting. I mean, I just think that's interesting because if we're going to be the primary stakeholder for that, we're going to run out of money. It's not all going to add up. We got about $1.3 million left uncommitted. And they're asking $1 million from the DFC alone.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a lot of money. With uncertainty with how that program's going to go, it would be nice if it was broken up across a couple different entities. So if he could share where that additional $2 million is coming in from, which again, I don't know if there's a legal issue as to why he can't share that. But that would be nice to know.
It's interesting you're saying that, but I I guess I missed it. I only heard of 100,000 and or 200. Well,
No, Danny, that's 100% incorrect. And I sent you you're gonna have to read I
I'm-
sent you this.
I'm
But no, listen, it's $200,000 for the administration of the program. It's $800,000 divided by 50,000 apiece to 16 homes. That was what was discussed. So there's a lot of numbers thrown around, and everybody's got to pay attention, be quick on this, because this is how things get, how we're taking more time over analyzing certain things. There's a lot of money. I'm not saying there shouldn't be analysis, but if we're not going to pay attention, Danny, then I don't know what anybody's doing here. Okay. So I'm just asking for a level of attention and scrutiny and professionalism, please. There was never $100,000 that was mentioned with regard to this program that Roger just mentioned. It's $1 million, $200,000 for the administration of the program, and $800,000 for the grants. Is everybody clear on that?
So I missed skip to zero. Okay.
I'm sorry, and I'm sorry if I'm getting frustrated. It's just that because we're going back and I feel like we're going around and around in circles here. So that's just my frustration. I apologize if
I'm here, the one that I brought up. Let's get the vote done before. So don't. I'm feeling accused by dragging my feet. I'm the one that was pushing to make sure we had the vote before. So let's and I accept your apology.
I appreciate that, Danny. I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. But I want to make sure that we're staying clear on what it is, because there's a lot of large sums being talked about here, and it's important to keep them categorized and delineated one from the other. Tyler, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so what I would ask is the TRIO program be looked at separately than the down payment assistance program. You could ask if they come to another ask or get more clarity around the down payment assistance program. That could draw down some of the administrative costs because those could be shared. But what I'm asking is, don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough right now. Good enough right now is we have Placemate, we have TRIO, and we have the RRA development model as a way to take steps forward with housing that has a significant portion of those funds coming back into the Almanor Foundation as an investment cycle. And so what I'm concerned about after the conversations today is that there's going to be a commingling happening between ideas and funds and things like that, that what I call is plate spinning. We start spinning again and everyone goes all over the place. And that is fundamentally the most difficult thing with housing, because you can plate spin, you can do all these scenarios for indefinitely kind of thing. And what we need to do is we need to take first active tactical steps that are moving housing forward and come back to and iterate on the process in the next 2 years or 3 years and stair step our way out of here. And so again, I think the down payment assistance program is great. It needs a whole lot of formalization of what that process is. Who is it funding? How much is it actually needed? How does that fund get recharged after time, after 16 homes? How is that administrative cost played into it? All of these questions need to be designed on it. And my concern is that those two around housing are starting to get pulled together gravitationally between RRA, or like what the Housing Council has presented, and what Roger and Clint just presented. What I'm asking is please keep those separate in a way to actually action and move things forward. That's what I'm asking.
And Tyler, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear your ideas on how these things worked or would not work together. That's what we needed to hear. So thank you for that clarification and that encouragement. So that's highly valuable information that we need.
Matt, you have your hand up.
Hey guys, I love the passion on the team. Like, keep it up. It's good. Anyway, what I'd like to do is move forward with a motion. Like we said, we were almost there, and Greg's like, well, let's hear these other guys. So that's cool. We've heard them. But I'd like to move forward on a motion, the 600 grand Almanor Foundation housing thing, that we were talking, whatever, an hour ago, that we move forward, we vote on that. So it's 600 grand to the Almanor Foundation with the somehow we want to put in there that it's they have to invest it in burn scar area, and if it doesn't go to this thing, then they can use it for these other programs, and it's directed at the 600 grand. I think is there a formal breakdown between the different programs within the 600 grand, Tyler, or is that just like kind of like
If it was in the document as somebody explained to me earlier.
It is in the document. And DFCs would be categorized for the placement program and for RA development model.
And is there a split? The 600 grand is split into what, 400 and 200 or something? Is it?
I think it's less than that. Let me.
The last breakdown of the budget, and I'll show it right here.
Thanks, Patrick.
This is what was included in the May 4th memo.
This is the old one. Oh,
Okay.
wait, no, sorry. This is it. Sorry. May 4th memo.
I'm sorry, there's November 4th. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's good.
The 500,000, what we talked about. So it's quite, the question is, where's the other 100,000 going, Tyler?
This is the old version, Patrick. So this
Okay.
is
Let me see the most. I have the draft version that was sent today that will be incorporated into the grant request. But there's no breakdown of the dollar amount like that that previous budget matrix that we just saw.
yeah.
So
So
I can
Thanks.
share my screen of the last memo, which was from the 14th of this month, or last month, sorry. That has that 600K amount that you're looking for.
Is it
Yes.
split down into something? Oh, here we go.
yeah, so right now this is how it's split. And also the Almanor Foundation does have administrative costs. This program is going to run for 3 years, and we're pulling out 10%, which is a standard administrative cost for administrative costs that are associated with that. What is administrative cost? One is going to be probably quarterly check-ins to review dividend returns and what's actually happening with the development. So RRA, check-ins with Placemate and the TRIO program over a duration of 3 years. And that equals 10%, which is 60K. That goes to administrative costs. So you can see down here that has RRA investment. The DFC is putting in 405,000. Placement program is 126,000. TRIO program is 9,000 and 60,000 for administrative costs. Again, that's for 3 years, and this will probably go longer with 5-year kind of threshold. We're just talking about covering it for 3 years. What the Almanor Foundation wants to ensure is that they can take the dividend returns and also when the money comes back to reinvest into housing. That's our shared goal. Everyone has been discussing that since the beginning. And to cover the cost of the housing fund specifically, not the overall administrative cost of the Almanor Foundation. One thing you all should note is that Almanor Foundation right now has 1 staff member, I believe it is, and the rest is all volunteer staff. So this is not a heavy administrative burdened organization. It's been scrapping by and moving forward. And one of the things that we need to do is support the Almanor Foundation and making sure that they can exist in perpetuity with administrative costs. So I'm happy to discuss the administrative. I know that came up with Roger in the questions as well. So this is the breakdown. North Valley Community Foundation, we're not having them invest in RRA because their primary focus was into the TRIO program and potentially into Placemate within PRS. So are there further questions around how the funds would be broken up and the administrative costs?
I don't know. I'd like to look more at placement. I wasn't completely sold on that when they were presenting. I mean, I think I'm down for the RAA process. I think that that's pretty good, but yeah, I don't know about placement.
What kind of questions do you have of placement or your?
When she said, I mean, to me, it sounds like taking people's vacation homes. So you're taking like people who already have vacation homes and you're paying them like above market rates. You're setting it up so that they're making more money off of a resource than if they
No,
would.
they're making market rates on a monthly rental for a full-time tenant versus on Airbnb on short-term rentals. Now, the reality is, and we've had multiple conversations with Kai, who you met. The reality is Plumas County faces a very different challenge than Tahoe Truckee or many of the communities that she's worked within, because there's an overarching pressure on the Airbnbs. That is a bit of a pressure in Plumas County, but it's not as significant. What we actually have is a lot of units that people don't want to actually rent out because of their beliefs on who the tenant is and what they think they would get on return. What I mean by that is vacant units rather than those that are in short-term rentals. The program would look at targeting any of the vacant rentals and trying to activate those into the market. Basically building taking any vacancies and starting to convert it, and then any of the short-term rentals that we could and converting those as well, which would be a small percentage of that. Now, the reality is we don't know, and Kai had said this, Plumas County faces a very different challenge. It is geographically separated, and we don't know how many of the vacancy units that we have. So our course of action is, number one, is to Tracy Ferguson has a grant at the county through the CDBG-DR planning grant, in which we use some of those funds, which have already been designated, to do a housing assessment across the county itself. We get that housing assessment and we confirm on the vacancy rates and units that we are. Hopefully that would happen next year. While we're doing that, we're also assessing what is the best marketing and channels for our renters specifically, and how we can subsidize those renters, because at the end of the day, we will have to subsidize some of our renters, especially if they're 80 to 100% AMI, to get into market rate rentals. So we assess the market, we understand through the housing assessment what is the vacancy rates, and then we basically plan a course of action. What does that actually look like? Because we're different, very different kind of circumstances. Kai is concerned that her kind of cookie cutter approach isn't going to work here, and the reality is it's not, because our county is very different when it comes to socioeconomic, because of our housing stock that we have, because of the fire that was that destroyed a lot of our critical housing stock. So that's our hope right there. So in short, we need to design a program that's fit for Plumas County. Other questions, Greg?
I don't know. I mean, yeah. It just, like I said, I mean, it's if it's going mostly for existing housing stock and you're just marketing to people who already own this, do you have any idea how many of those are available?
Our target is for 30 units across the county over the 3 years.
And those are already in existence. We don't have to build those.
We don't have to build those, correct. And that's very reasonable based off of our assessment in Almanor Basin.
And these will have to be subsidized after we give the money. They'll have to be subsidized again next year or in the year after.
No,
that?
what they found is after the subsidization, 80% of those units stay into basically what it helps is the tenant get into basically stair step up their compensation so that they can stay in the unit and vice versa.
Okay.
So it's not we can't have this subsidy around indefinitely kind of thing.
Right.
Like another awesome puzzle piece. I mean, as you're saying, this is a puzzle we're trying to put together. This is just another piece that helps us put the puzzle together for housing.
100%. It affects our renters and our critical renters right now, which are low income, low to mid income, but are still making wages, keeping them local and in the workforce, at least for the next 3 years.
All right, I'm good.
All right, so I'll come back to the proposal. So I'm proposing that we fund 600K as Ben had in his little table, giving that to the Almanor Foundation. Anything else any other caveats? Oh, with the caveat that it's invested in the Burnscar area. Any other caveats or little clauses we want to add to this?
I second that, Marcia.
Thank you, Marcia.
All right, so just to be clear, I have a motion from Matt for $600,000 to be granted to the Almanor Foundation and invested in the Burnscar area to support these programs. Matt Fogarty. Seconded by Marcia Roby. Lyda Scoggin.
Are we voting?
Yes.
Yes.
Greg Walsh.
Yeah, I'll vote yes.
Marcia Roby.
Yes.
Danny Steyer.
Yes.
Matt Fogarty.
Yes.
And Shelby Leon.
Yes.
Okay, I have 6 yeses, so the motion stands approved. Thank you all very much. With regard to the details here, I know that you have that draft. That does need to be in the grant portal. And I know that Susan was working on that as she's the representative from the Almanor Foundation that has access to that.
Yep.
But I'll be following up with, I guess, her or maybe Melissa Lopez.
It'll be, yeah, follow up with Susan, myself, and Ben. Ben
Okay.
and I are helping with all the copy for it, and Susan submitting. Again, it's like an executive director that's in a pro bono position that we often have. So,
Okay.
yeah, we can follow up that. I do want to express deep gratitude to the steering committee. I know these are not easy kind of questions, especially dealing with finite resource like funding. I definitely, and the Housing Council as a whole, appreciate your thoughtfulness and like kind of going through the questions together. Again, if there's further questions on it, I'm happy to address those as we move forward. We want to make sure that there's building understanding of what's happening. What I can say is, just like life, things will change and pivot and move forward, but the purpose of this is specifically for building housing. And it's not going to radically change or anything like that. It's very dedicated under a great entity for that. We will discuss it as we move forward with the kind of changes and stuff like that. Greg, I would love your input on the placemate program to figure out how it can be more successful when we actually deploy it. So we do need to support renters, and this is the method in which has been the most successful in other regions. And the TRIO program seems like the best fit right now. And then the RRA model, just wish us luck. We got to go raise. This was step one. So thank you. Now we need to go raise.
I definitely support the RRA model. You know what I mean? I think that that's a really good solution. You know, yeah, that's the only one I think. You're not going to get people building spec houses any other way. So
thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you from the Tyler and Ben from the Almanor Foundation and the Plymouth County Housing Council. Thanks for the follow-up, and then we'll just continue to gather more information and be able to have that prepped for the community meeting to be able to present this.
Sounds
So
good.
thank you.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Well, for the rest of the team, again, thank you for your contributions and your deliberation. Just to kind of put things in perspective, this has really been like 6 to 8 weeks. I think really 8 weeks was sort of the initial heads up, and then the last 6 weeks has been a tremendous amount of information that has been shared, and I know it's a lot to process. And the difference is that when you're looking at it every day, all day, you can kind of see the connective tissue between things. And so I understand that with the gaps, every couple of weeks and having to kind of come back down to where we are in the storyline, that it can be challenging. So again, thank you for staying with it and following up, and for asking your questions so we can kind of get closer and closer to the bullseye. Just to kind of leave off where we were with Roger Diefendorf, I will follow up with him with regard to their grant request. And just so we can go through the process with the Plymouth Community Development Corporation, which is their set aside foundation to the Plymouth County Community Development Commission, if that's something that they still want to pursue. Like I said, I kind of got a heads up because the executive director from the Dawn Institute asked me about the grant portal, and I sent her instructions on how to fill out a grant application in the portal. So I anticipate something coming from the Dawn Institute. However, there's been nothing thus far that has been completed in the grant portal for review. Yeah. So that's what I know right now. So at least I think that there's something coming. Yes, Danny.
I was just, the question is, any idea of monetary amount, even though what it might be?
No, she didn't say. I do, like, she said that they were looking at so they at one time had kind of a robust educational program, right, where they would host field trips for not only elementary and secondary school age kids, but then they also had sort of like an intern educational program component to it, where I think it was summer interns would come and be able to participate at the Dawn Institute on their small farm, and then take that knowledge back to wherever they were, or be able to pursue college programs around ag and outdoor education programs. I think what they were saying is that they actually have some that have participated in that internship program that are now working down at Rugged Roots Farm in Quincy. But they want to get that going again, and they have some infrastructure needs to be able to do that. They still have like a small, shed / cabin that they used for some of that educational programming. But I think just from talking to one of their board members, like they want to get some of the fencing going again. Sounds like the water is going to be coming back online if it hasn't already. So anyway, they have some basic needs, but I don't know the dollar amount associated with it.
Right. Okay.
But I'll be on the lookout to see when that hits in the grant portal.
Yeah.
All right. Just want to go around the horn. Lyda, do you have anything for the team that you wanted to share?
No, thank you.
All right. Danny, do you have anything that you'd like to share?
Got nothing.
Okay. Greg?
I'm good.
Okay. Marcia?
How was the turkey trot?
Oh, it was fun. I think we had about 20-25 folks out there. Danny and his wife Martha joined us. And the weather was great.
Good.
Little on the chilly side, but sunny, and yeah, so got a our course is just shy of 3 miles. It's about 2.85. And we've talked about incorporating a little jaunt out there to Mill Street and to really make it like an even 3, but with too many lefts and rights, the course starts to get a little confusing. So we just decided to keep it with what we got. So maybe one day, if we get better signage or something, we could figure it out. But thank you for asking. Yeah, we had a good group out there.
A quick feedback on that, and it was a good day, Patrick. And as you know, usually when it's great for the spectators, it's not so good for the runners or the participants, because they work up their enough heat and energy and such too. So it was a nice day for running. We mentioned it was chilly after we got done, but it was great while you were running.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, thank you, Marcia. Matt,
So I met with Marsha and Kaylee to talk about the kind of marketing support for business kind of ideas, and we discussed that for a little bit, and then I reached out to Jamie at the Wild Hare, see if she could be a kind of partner in that, and she said she's too busy, but she recommended a couple of other consultants. So I'm going to be writing that up as like a one pager, and I'll share with you guys, and I'll do that for next. So if you put me on the agenda for next week to have a proposal or something to discuss, and maybe it's not a proposal at that time, but it's some kind of something.
okay, that's good. And I followed up with Josie Litchfield. As that's what she does is digital marketing. And
Okay.
she had a couple ideas, but her plate's pretty full. But she had a couple ideas. And I was just talking to Clint before he departed. So the Innovation Hub does have its own 501c3 status now. Before it had the Fair Foundation as its fiscal sponsor. So it's just something to consider there. If for like the long-term administration of it. But anyway, well, we can talk at the next week's meeting on December 9th at our next steering committee meeting.
Cool.
Thanks, Matt. Shelby, do you have anything that you wanted to share with the group?
Nothing to share at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Well, I do want to just review. So just so everybody's clear, we will be meeting next Monday, just because of the scheduling around the community supper on the 16th. So we'll meet from 3 to 5 on December 9th. I'll get that out here sooner than later so that the folks that aren't on the call today can plan ahead. Lida, we will keep any sort of relevant, like anything that's actionable upfront just to accommodate your schedule. And Greg, I'll follow up with you based off of your trip to Chico to see if that we can accommodate that. All right. So may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 4:54 p.m.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Lida. And second,
I'll second it.
thank you, Greg. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.
You too. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.